me close this stuff which we don't need anymore. Control Shift P, Command Shift P, and then create Apex class and opportunity trigger. So you can name both Apex class and trigger name can be same. Okay, and say Control Shift P, SFDX, create Apex trigger, opportunity trigger. This is called trigger. Now I need to check whether my before insert will work or not. My before insert will work or not. So for that, what we need to define? We need to define one method. Yes. Okay. Public static void before insert in before insert. Sorry. So in trigger, what type of data we have in before insert? What are the trigger context data we have here? Here you have list of S object. Here S object is opportunity and new opportunities. So this is the data we have here, and here on S object you will be having opportunity. So here we need to check one thing. First we need to ensure that are we getting a right data, whatever we are expecting. So how can I check that? I can go and I can iterate my for each. Yes, for each. And what is the object name? And variable record. And I'm saying new list. So here I'll not do anything extra. Here I'll be doing a simple thing. Public void is showing error. Expecting. That is something else, I think. Okay. I'll say record dot add error. I'll say in error formula value. I'll say record dot. What is the field name that we had here? Discounted amount, right? Discounted amount, semicolon, save, and I will be calling this method within my Apex trigger dot before insert trigger dot new deploy preference of auto deploy. So there is a settings in your workspace as soon as you click Control S, it just deploys to code. Okay, if this enabled. So there is all you need to go to settings and then you can specify VS Code push or deploy on changes enabled. So now it is enabled. If I made any changes, if I say Control S, it start deploys. See, I didn't ran any deployment now. As soon as you put Control S, it starts deploy. Variable does not exist in opportunity trigger. Okay, it got deployed now. So if I go, if I say, I'll say clone only, clone. Even if it is clone, it's a new record now. If I click save, do we can get this discounted message or not? So we are getting, so formulas is allowed in before triggers. The question is that formulas values are calculated even in before triggers. Clear? See, generally this says that formulas will calculate once the record got successfully created, but in the trigger context, your formula values are available even in before triggers. So do remember, it's there are chances that we think there is a suggestions always if it is a formulas, if you are dependent on a formulas, try to use after triggers. But the formulas are well calculated before triggers, so you can if you don't have any other dependencies, if you're concerned about only formula fields, then you don't need to go with the after triggers. You can always readily do with the before triggers. Yeah. Now let's take a simple other scenario where as soon as I create my opportunity, let me go and create a new field. See, while doing integration, you can't use opportunity record ID. You can't use opportunity record ID. The reason behind, because these are not external, what we can say, you can't integrate your system with a opportunity record ID. What we need to have another indexing field called external IDs. So what we can do, new, I'm creating an external ID now. I'll say text field. I'll say text field. Next, op ID external. So this is my opportunity ID is external. Otherwise, Salesforce ID external. This is my Salesforce ID external ID. Clear? Here you can see set this field as unique identifier from the external system. I'm setting this value as a unique identifier. Remember, always unique identifiers are not a unique values. You need to select a unique. Hey, do not allow duplicate values. Treat ABC and ABC are duplicated value, case sensitive. Okay. You have to mention not an external ID can be a duplicate. I mean, unique values, it can be a duplicated. So you need to mention this also unique. Next. Length is required. I'll say length is 20. My maximum length of this any external ID will be 18 because that is the Salesforce ID maximum length. Visible. Next. I'll say next. Now understand the scenario. We have an external ID got created. We have an external ID got created, but that external ID need to be filled with opportunity ID. That external ID need to be filled with opportunity ID. Clear? As soon as in the imagine this way, if you are creating a record, and based on, in before triggers, do you have an ID, record ID in before triggers? No. So how can I pass? If I want to pass that account ID, record ID to an Salesforce ID external, how can I do that? What type of events I need to pick? After trigger. Okay. If I pick after trigger, let's imagine this way. Yeah, we need to pick after trigger. So what I'm doing, I'm just making this directly as a after insert, and here what we have, if in after trigger what type of data we have? In after trigger we have new map, and new also we have, but we are using new map for a concept. Trigger dot is after, and trigger dot is insert, right? So instead of before, I need to go with after. And before I save that method, I need to define my after method. Map of id comma after save. I'll say save. So in after, what we need to get? We need to update external ID, isn't it? One minute here. What's happening? Trigger is class is deployed. Trigger is getting deployed. Yeah. So now trigger is deployed. Now understand what is the scenario that we need to update our external ID. That we need to update our Salesforce external ID. Salesforce ID external. We need to update this field with opportunity record ID, right? Opportunity record ID. Clear? Now, if I do this one, what happens? If I do constantly saying that, what happens? How can I do this? Can I do simply like for, and I can pass this value new opportunity. Let's say opportunity record colon new opportunity dot values. And now what I can say, can I use like this record dot Salesforce external ID equal to record.id. Can I use like this? Why? Why we need to run a SOQL? Yeah, it's a read only, right? There are two ways we can do. There are two ways that we can implement in a way that if it is a new opportunity, you can define like a list of opportunity records equal to new list of opportunity, and you can say you can iterate through a for loop. Okay, in end of the day, you can iterate through a for loop saying that, hey, where is my field? Yeah, here I go. Opportunity OPP equal to new opportunity, and all you need to say OPP dot external ID is this one, and I'll say semicolon OPP dot ID equal to record dot ID. Here also I'll say record.id, and there is another way that we can do always. You can take off this opp.id. So what we are doing, we are passing this value to the here, and from here to here, right? We can do a assignment, single line assignment operators. And then what we can say, records dot add opp, and here I'll say opportunity record colon dot values. You agree with this? And finally what we do? Finally what we do? Or we need to insert or update? Because these are after insert, it means that record already created. Now you need to do update, right? These records is already inserted. Now we are trying to do update, isn't it? So it means it clearly shows in trigger you will not do an insert operation for the same record, but you do only update operations. Okay, too many deployments are running parallelly. Okay, now run. Let me do one thing. I'll clone again. Clone trigger test one and I'll save it. So expectation Salesforce ID should be populated. Details. So Salesforce ID is populated, right? Let's say whenever the Salesforce ID is populated, one successful creation of Salesforce account or whatever, I need to update my opportunity. Let's say I need to update my opportunity with opportunity name followed with my external ID, followed with my external ID. Let's say in a way that I'm okay. Let's talk about a simple example here. So what we are doing, we are after insert, how we are updating, all we are populating this data and we are creating a record. Let's say what if I don't have this field defined? Let imagine that I didn't define my opportunity. In this case, what happens? It creates another field, isn't it? Generally, now you don't have opportunity ID. Now how records will be updated? Earlier in update command, you need opportunity ID to update. Now in the update command, what you need in this case? So all you can mention here with an external field name. You can also do this. Sorry, database dot update. Here you can say record slash. Yep. Seriously, 1 minute. Correct only, right? Database dot update email all or nothing. 1 minute. So database, what is saying variable does not exist, Salesforce external ID. So what could be the, yeah. So now here we need to pass list and I wanted to mention my update command. 1 minute, let me think here. Like what did it say? Update variable does not exist. So might be I need to use this way. Let me check it out. Might be I'm doing it wrong. Save. Okay, that's an issue. I need to pass it as a variable, not like a, I mean, of course, right? If I mention without any quotes, it's like a variable name for the system. It should be followed by single quotes. And now, even if I clone, so I can't clone now. I need to, okay, I can clone it, still no issues. So what I'll do, earlier we were doing just an update. Now in this case, we are not passing record ID. We are not passing any record ID here. We are not assigning opportunity. We are doing DML on external fields here. Let's say I'm just removing this and I'll say trigger test2 and I'm saving it. Errors in page, what error? Errors in page. Is there any question? That okay. Now we need to identify what error is that. Let me go and turn on my Apex Replay debugger. Apex, turn on my Apex Replay debugger. So now what happens? I am enabling my debugs. There is other alternative way that you can do by going your developer console. You can also do this way. There are two ways. In Apex Replay debugger, you can verify it, or you can go to your developer console and open it and then just click save again. Now you got log created, right? Now let me go where is Salesforce internal error. What is saying? After insert Salesforce internal null bytes. So. 1 minute. DML Apex using external ID. Offsetting records Apex level. Update records using external ID in Apex. It's same, right? This is what I mentioned before. Database update FOC dot external ID. You can use external ID. Okay. If what he is saying, he's saying like opportunity dot external ID. True. Deploy. Okay. Let's see. Cool. Update records space Salesforce external ID. Will this and wrong? What is saying? Method does not exist. Schema from database. You can even database methods. So he's using straightforward, but why it is not allowing me? Ideally, that should work. Like as soon as we say update and followed by the naming convention, it always have to accept database dot update using external ID. One minute, sorry guys. Only do upset the record that are already in Salesforce. Instead, I could do upset. No, field name is subject. Upset string field name is saying. Okay, connection data upset. What if it is update? Do have updatable required field resetting string rollback, and we have C sharp, some code, control F, external ID. So This is called connection dot. Where is connection here? Okay. No example. Data binding dot update. Okay. Is a foreign key which allows to update record and real time on other existing system. My external ID and you can update, but what if I say offset? Create a new records and update using a custom field that return. Okay, it's only for offset that is doing. Let's go and check my offset records and followed by what is the field name here. Method does not exist. Okay, that is different. Save. I never did it for update. It's only for upside that I'm doing. Okay. I'm just checking ideally what we can do, there is an option like in Salesforce that you can do a email operations using external IDs. You are not really dependent on this one. It's deploying. Variable does not exist. Okay, it's records, not records. Mhm. Okay, at least it accepted now. Something is good. Say required field name closure date is missing on line number 13. On line number 13 and column 2, what it is doing, Salesforce ID, and it is trying to offset records with an external ID. In this case, the optional records, okay, no way, it should come, right? Clone, I'll say remove it, save, email upset file, first on first row, required field missing, stage name, closure date. After insert line number 25, column 1, now understand this way. It's going here. Oh, okay. Now the other issue is that so what happening? Hmm. So when I'm trying to upset, I don't need this field. These fields are already there in the system. Required fields are missing. Stage name, closer date, and this one an upset. So let's do one thing. Okay, anyway. SFDX get Apex debug logs and the field exception and row. Let's do one thing. I'll apply my breakpoint here. I'll apply my breakpoint and I'll run my launch. Let me figure it out like what is happening. Click on play, it will go here and next step. Yes, it's good. My records, Salesforce external ID in records dot add opp and it says first section required fields are missing, stage name close. So what could be the issue here? when I say record.id and I'm assigning to opportunity, in opportunity I'm assigning OPP. External ID I'm matching it. Ideally I shouldn't be seeing this error. Control Z. System.debug. Size of data colon equal to records dot size. Ideally, I shouldn't be seeing this error like email upset on row required fields are missing because I'm using sales same external ID, which is mhm, 1 minute. So our expectation with external ID is a way that hey, if I pass my external ID, it should update the same record. That was the expectation. But this is something which is doing differently. So I'll save it again. And I got my debug logs ready. Get apex logs, upset file, launch, and I'll say play because I already applied my breakpoint there. Record. So 3, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, correct. Okay, data size is 1. We had offset. First exception row required field is missing stays. But if I do this, let me take this opportunity ID or yeah, if I go here, let me go to developer console, let me execute it. So what I'm doing here, opportunity opp equal to new opportunity, sorry, control Z, opportunity opp dot equal to single quotes, and I'll say external ID, just checking whether this field is still throwing the same error for me. External ID, and I'll say opp dot description equal to testing, and I'll say list of opportunity records equal to new list of opportunity records dot add. I'm just trying to replicate the same thing what I'm doing in trigger, and I'll say upset records space and the external field. The same thing we are doing there, isn't it? Same thing we are assigning a external ID to an object and we are upsetting the data. So let me execute here and let me go details. So we got description updated, but why it is not updating in triggers? But why this is not happening in triggers? When the same thing is allowed here, you can see, right? I'll say testing Deepak executed it, and if I go here testing and I'll say it's executed details and it's executed, isn't it? Here you can see Deepak, we got it. So let's do one more thing here. I'll say Control E, copy. I'll not update this. I'll not update this record. I'll do hot code. I'll do hot code and I'll say opportunity dot description equal to record dot name. Whatever new record that I'm creating, it need to be updated with the same opportunity to this same opportunity, right? That's what I mentioned. Because what I did, I hard coded this external ID is here. So it means it's a static hard code, I mean ID. Clear? Oh, okay. But see, remember that I'm doing like a prank, okay? I'm just pretending myself that I'm getting errors, thinking that you guys will point out an error. But I didn't I was not seeing that approach till now. So I know why this error is coming for us. It's just I'm pretending myself saying that hey, something you guys come up and discuss. Start involving yourself, guys. Okay. Let me do one thing. I'll clone this record. I'll clone. I'll clone and I'll clear this ID. Okay. And I'm saving it as a testing 3. Save. So it got updated. Now if I go to here, instead of testing Deepak, I should be seeing testing 3 instead of testing 3, right? It means my triggers are working now. But here, what is missing? Salesforce external ID is missing, right? Salesforce ID external is missing. Why Salesforce ID external is missing? The reason where we are passing our IDs, let's imagine, let's talk about here. So generally what we did it before, we created after insert to populate our external IDs, right? To the same record. Now in this code, earlier it was working record.id. It's okay. But you are trying to update a record ID. If I remove this one, for the new opportunities, is there any way that we are updating record IDs here? Salesforce external ID, we are assigning anywhere? See, imagine one thing. Why we are getting this error? The reason behind, we are not even updating the opportunity. It means that due to the second implementation, we removed the first implemented one. Understood? Right? So in this case, you have Salesforce external ID, you pass a Salesforce record ID. But the problem is that you don't have because these are the new opportunities where you never assign Salesforce external ID to the newly created opportunities, right? The only way that this can be avoided, you also need to pass your record ID. You need to pass here opportunity.id equal to record.id. Now, in this case, what happens? As soon as you update record, so it is assigning opportunity ID and you are also assigning external ID and then you are assigning description and then you are updating. Now it will work. Understood where we went wrong before, right? So we're trying to use external ID. The problem is that we never assign external ID. External ID always a blank. If it is a blank, it means that it is trying to create a new record. Whenever I wanted to create a new record in opportunity, there are required fields. What are the required fields I have? Opportunity name, closure date, and state. That's what it is mentioning always. And now we also know how to debug an issue. So you tried doing here. you will not able to find anything in Apex logs. I mean, you will not able to understand what is happening. So then we went to developer console. We replicate the same scenario, test scenario using anonymous code, and we executed. If this works here, it means that it should work even here. You got it? So now you know how to enable your debug logs, I mean turn on Apex log, and how to use developer console. All you need to run. So as soon as you get errors, try to go to developer console, click on logs, you'll get here. So you can open it. It's not something always you need a Visual Studio Code or VS Code in doing that. You can use developer console, scroll down and trace it back from bottom to top. Hey, you are getting this error and everything is going above, right? But let me say there is other way. Let's say even if the record is failed, in this case, okay, I can't do that here. I'll take other example for that. Is there any questions now? Uh, okay, yeah, accessing it for outside because ID is not exposed. But this also can be used as an internal also, as an indexing variable. Uh, yeah, yeah. You can, yeah, if you have this external ID of opportunity, you can always do. But remember, you have to do offsets, not updates. Let me take here update and I'll say now what happened? There is no method available. You can do operations external ID using upsets, not updates. If ID is not present, then it will try to insert record. If ID is present, then it will do upset update. See, it can be if you are working from accounts, you need to know like total amounts and opportunities that are active opportunities. Which what I need to know. Hey, if I'm a business, I have 10 opportunities, and out of 10 opportunities, what is my income? If I wanted to see from my account detail page, then I would be needed this opportunities, right? Or if, let's say discount 10%, if I say that there could be any business scenarios, you can think of anything. So if I update like phone number or like a opportunity status to or otherwise send email to opportunities, there is a status called send email to opportunity. If I check this one, I need to send emails to opportunity people, then you might need to update your opportunities with the status, isn't it? You can do whatever you wanted. So as soon as either you get, if you know the external ID or if you know like this one, you can do whatever you wanted. Yeah. Any integration, like if you are doing anyway, you can't operate with a Salesforce record IDs. These are only specific to Salesforce. This field is not exposed to external systems. Okay. How external system will gonna communicate it through external IDs. That what it means. Like external IDs in the sense it's a custom name. It can be an email or it can be a phone number or it can be a unique identifier like his Aadhaar card or can be a PAN card, whatever it's so. It's a unique identifier for him in the entire world. That will be our external IDs, not just like a data. It's just like combination of two or three. Let's say a first name combined with a phone number, a first name combined with the email. It can be anything. So you can opt like this. Let's say there is an example saying that a same customer can have more than 10 opportunities. If it is the same customer, if I'm using email, you are not forced to ask your customer saying that hey, you already have one opportunity. You need to have another email if you want to create an opportunity. That's a wrong sense, right? So now what you can do, you need to figure it out a way that how can I do that? The way is that using like a created date hyphen email ID. So you can't create two opportunities at the same time for same customer, right? Now, email ID followed with a created date can be unique identifier, but there is a possibility that you will be doing a data load. So in data load, you will be end up in creating two opportunities in the same file in the CSV files. Right, that time the created date remains same for the same customer. So this is not a possible thing. So what we can do, but in this case, what you can say, email ID followed with opportunity name. So for same customer, you will not end up in creating two opportunity names same. It can be a different names for sure, right? That can be unique identifier, and you can avoid duplicate rules. So we also have a duplicate rules that is our next session actually. So using duplicate rules, you can eliminate these things. So it's not like, but in Salesforce, you can do DML operations using upset. Using external IDs, you can do only upsets. You will not able to do like insert or updates. Upsets allows on external using external IDs. So if the ID is already exists in the system, it will update. If it is not there, it will try to create a record. If it is trying to create a record, you need to pass all the required fields. Clear? Yep. Any questions? Avinash, Sunil. So this is something today I pretended myself saying that hey, try to figure it out what is happening. That is what my expectation from in the class. It's not something you will see a code. It's something you involve what is happening. So now today you understand like how to debug an issue, like in a way that where and all you need to check and how to reproduce the issue.